4 years ago, Elise Post crashed in the semifinals in London. Now 4 years later, the St. Cloud, Minnesota native is a silver medalist. Well, Andrew, how does the team feel after the dance ends? It's like hearing the song Closing Time. The Duke's expecting it will be cold, it will be dark, and it will be perfect. That's the motto for December football under the lights for JMU. Well, as the Olympics come to a close, in a few weeks, the Paralympics will take center stage. This is Countdown to Kickoff here on My Valley as we get you set for this afternoon's matchup between top-ranked James Madison and in-state rival William & Mary. Well, after going one and done in the playoffs the last 2 years, JMU rapidly rises to the throne of the FCS kingdom. How has fatherhood changed the way you coach and lead a football team?
Oh boy, that's a great question.
You got named to the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame, one of, I'm sure, many Hall of Fames that you'll find yourself in. What does that mean to you to be part of such a special group?
Well, I'm honored.
It's the first Friday of October, which means the hunt for playoff spots in November already underway.
Oh,
clearly,
wow.
We can tell who the better-looking anchor is. That sets up Brennan Brown. What can Brown do for you, folks? Tacking on another touchdown around the left edge. And to channel the one and only Toby Keith. Go West, young man. Haven't you been told? West with 22 points. The Hokies continuing to fire away, fire away. Petersburg football did not make the playoffs this year, but the Vikings already looking ahead to 2018. That's when Jacob Hartman will likely contribute for the third straight year as a starting QB. He's really good at reading lips, but that's a talent born out of necessity.
Friday nights at Petersburg High School. Sound different to Jacob Hartman. They sound like this.
You live for Fridays.
Jacob actually contracted meningitis, spinal meningitis. That's what caused his hearing loss when he was almost 6 months old. In the years ahead, when he was like 1 and 2, the communication got pretty rough. You know, he wanted things and I didn't know what he wanted, so there were times where we're all upset and crying because I have no idea what he wants.
What Shannon Hartman wanted was for her son to go to public school. She made the decision for Jacob to transfer from the school for the deaf when he was 7.
I didn't want him to live what I call as a silent world.
Jacob's first day at a public school felt like getting lost in a foreign country.
I'm nervous. I thought to talk to people.
How did you feel after your first day of school?
I'm sad because I'm very different from private school to public school. That's why I'm sad.
Nobody knew sign language, none of his peers. It took about 6 months for kids to learn, you know, to be able to have discussions, that kind of stuff.
How long did it take for you to get comfortable in being in public school?
Probably a year. 1 year.
The football field became the place where being deaf didn't matter to Jacob.
I'm definitely deaf.
You don't feel that you're deaf when you're on the field. And that makes you happy?
It was like it came natural. It just, I don't know how else to put it.
I can eat the people.
You can hit people.
I thought about.
He had a strong arm, no question, but you know he had the ability to run very well. He moves very well. When we did competitions, he was always trying to win. You know, just that competitive nature and what you really look for in all players, but especially your quarterback.
Jacob became the starting quarterback for Petersburg High School in his sophomore year.
What was that like for you as a Viking to take the field for the first time as a quarterback?
I was pretty nervous.
Why were you nervous?
My first game.
The biggest thing was that first year, you come in with a playbook and a frame of mind of how you want to call things and what you're going to name things, and then you have to change. This kid is your future.
Jacob led the Vikings to 6 wins in 2016, marking back-to-back seasons of winning records under coach Kevin Board.
Early first half, Vikings down to score. Jacob Hartman to Cody Sutherland. It's a Vikings TD.
And we've had a lot of people come up and be like, I would have never known he was deaf if you hadn't told us. And that was my goal.
The Vikings not going quietly into the night. Jacob Hartman rockets to Jordan Hartman, a beauty gorgeous top 3 nominee.
When we first started talking about bringing him to public school I want him to look and be as normal as anyone else out there. I want him to fit in.
But instead, Jacob stood out, not for his inability to hear, but for his ability to throw the football. He broke school records his sophomore year, throwing for over 2,500 yards and 26 touchdowns. With Jacob's senior season ahead of him, the Vikings quarterback has his sights set on his next step.
Right now, he wants to go to JMU to play football. That's his goal. That's the only place he talks about right now.
It's difficult school. I was playing difficult school. That's why I went to play that.
That's definitely inspiring, just the plays he makes, and I think that's probably attributed to his deafness. He has to feel everything. He doesn't hear that edge rusher coming. He doesn't hear it. So he has to kind of feel everything in the pocket. And when he can feel it collapsing, he steps up or scrambles and makes a play. It's just incredible to watch. And people tell us that all the time. So you guys have more highlight plays in a game than a lot of teams will have in a season.
I'm proud that we've come this far, and that he's set that for himself. And I hope he accomplishes it.
I love football.
High drama at Harrisonburg High School tonight. Conference championships on the line for both boys soccer and baseball teams. 2 games that started at the same time, happening right next to each other, and each with a thrilling ending. Keep in mind, just one camera to capture all the action. We'll start on the pitch. Harrisonburg facing John Hanley. The Judges won 2-0 back in early April. About 15 minutes in, Owen Mattins taking this long ball and with streaks swarming, unleashes a shot that finds the back of the net. Hanley taking a 1-0 lead. We'll get back to that game in a second. But down the hill on the diamond, Millbrook and Harrisonburg meeting for a baseball conference title. 4th inning on this one, streaks down 1-0. Malachi Simmons launching one over right field, and that is gone. Solo homer. We are tied at 1, but we are just getting started on the fun. Back at boys soccer, Hanley and the Streaks are tied at 1 here. Roberto Gonzalez with the shot. Then on the rebound, Sajad Imran goes high with the kick, and you can tell the Streaks are pretty frustrated. The Berg, though, gets another chance 2 minutes later. Gonzalez kicking back to Eric Ramirez. He goes for the long-range strike. It goes in for the go-ahead goal. Ramirez celebrating in the stands. Streaks leading 2-1. We have to go back to baseball. Millbrook took a 2-1 lead. Christian Whitelow finding grass in right center field. Marcus Robinson Jenkins coming home. We are tied at 2 in the 5th. Same frame, runners in scoring position. Jose Rocha gets the gap in left, trotting home Kevin Navedo. And with a bigger sense of urgency, Christian Whitelow, he's safe. The Streaks taking a 4-2 lead. Let's go back next door at soccer. Hanley tied the game at 2, and after 4 overtime periods of scoreless soccer, we needed those dreaded penalty kicks. 3rd round here, Hanley trying to keep pace. Toby Campbell coming up with the stop. The senior taking a big sigh of relief. It is up to Roberto Gonzalez to clinch the title. He hits the back of the net, and Blue Streaks boys soccer winning 4-2 on penalties to capture the C21 West crown. So, how about baseball? Millbrook tied the game in the 7th. Harrisonburg has the bases loaded in the 9th. Jose Rocha at the plate, bounces one up. Here comes the cutoff throw at home. It gets away. Navedo coming home, and the Streaks win this one, defeating Millbrook 5-4. There you have it. 2 crazy games, 2 dramatic finishes, just minutes apart. A very memorable night for Harrisonburg High School sports.
All right, let's switch to sports.
Yeah, you know what, though? Great weather for that Saturday football game, that playoff game at Bridgeport Stadium, 2 o'clock kickoff. We'll talk about that in just a few moments, but a lot of action on the hardwood to talk about as well. The JMU men returning to the Convo tomorrow night, but so does one former Valley basketball star. How the Dukes are preparing for the return of a former Trailblazer. But first, we take you to Yoder Arena for the EMU Women's ODAC opener, a game that came down to the final seconds. We'll show you the finish next in sports. The EMU women trying to snap a 3-game losing streak, hosting Randolph in their ODAC opener. Pick this one up midway through the fourth quarter. The Royals up by 7. Lindsey Krysak hugging the arc and taking the inside J to give the Royals a 9-point lead. Randolph forced to take a timeout, and you think EMU is in control? Well, think again. A minute and change to go. 3-point ball game, and off the miss, Taylor Samuels with the putback bucket. Part of a 9-0 run by the visiting Wildcats. Tied at 57, less than 30 seconds to go. Krysak trying to make a move, drives inside and off the iron and in. Royals take a 2-point lead, 8.7 seconds to go. Randolph's last chance, the game-tying shot denied by the rim. EMU surviving, winning 59-57. To high school hoops, the season opener for both the East Rock and Central boys teams. The home Eagles coming off a 22-5 campaign last year, making some noise early. Dalton Jefferson, the 6'6" junior, with the 3 to put the Rock ahead early. And as we were shooting this thing called a cutaway of Coach Kerry Keys, watch out, Jefferson with the slam to electrify the Elkton crowd. The Falcons, though, trying to stay in it. Luke Eastep, a WHSV Student Athlete of the Week this year, launching a 3. That ties the game at 7. Final seconds of the quarter. Griffin Morris puts his foot on the gas and gets the kiss off the window. The East Rock boys going on a win, 67-44. The JMU men, coming off a narrow loss to Radford last weekend, will take on another in-state rival Wednesday night at the Convo. George Mason making the trip to Harrisonburg for the 93rd meeting between the two schools, and the Valley will get to reacquaint itself with a familiar face. Justin Kyer making his return to the area for the first time as a Patriot. The Spotswood graduate led the Blazers to state tournament appearances in each of his 4 seasons. The Convo is where his high school career ended in the 2016 state quarterfinals. Since then, Kyer has been a major contributor to the Patriots, starting every game this season and averaging nearly 10 points a game.
And he's gotten even better from last year. I think he's more confident in the system. That's what happens when you're a freshman, you become a sophomore. And he looks like a guy who's more confident. He's averaging almost 10 a game. He's really aggressive downhill as a driver. He has a really good physical frame, plays with really good pace. Never really gets sped up. He understands, I catch it, I rip and drive out of my 3-quarter and makes the right play. Gets in the lane, plays off 2 feet, can finish through contact, and makes passes for others. I think he's a really, really good player, really solid, and starting to come into his own, his comfort within the system.
Meanwhile, the road to Frisco begins for JMU football this weekend when the Dukes host Stony Brook in the second round of the FCS playoffs. But head coach Mike Houston not exactly thrilled about playing the Seawolves on Saturday. After going perfect in CAA play and winning the conference title outright for the second straight year, the Dukes have to face yet another colonial opponent to advance in the playoffs. Does it help at all that you face a CAA opponent to start off because there's a bit of familiarity with the league?
No, I think it's terrible. Yeah. I think they're one of the best teams on our side of the bracket, and I think we are too.
While Madison is on a 23-game win streak, the Seawolves are 10-2, riding the momentum of a 30-point first-round win over Lehigh.
I hate that we're facing each other in the second round because, either one of these two teams, I think you could easily see deeper on. The one thing we are guaranteed of is one of us is going to be playing the quarterfinals. I don't like seeing a conference opponent this early, but, we've seen it 2 years in a row, so maybe that's their way of weeding us out.
Last season, JMU began its road to a national championship with a win over New Hampshire. The Dukes have never lost to a CAA team in the postseason, but Mike Houston sees many similarities between his team and the Seawolves.
And I think they're playing their best ball of the year right now. It's going to be the typical postseason football game. Two top-notch defenses, 2 teams that are going to be very physical trying to run the football. I would imagine it's going to be a very close football game and one that will come down to, the same things that all games this time of the year come down to, and that's, being able to run the ball, stop the run, turnovers, field position. Those are going to be the big keys to the game on Saturday.
A victory would improve the Dukes to 5-0 all-time against CAA teams in the playoffs.
It's not going to feel like December football weather, at least not this weekend. Aubrey will be back to tell us about another mild day ahead next.